So, welcome to Sunday Night Live. And for those of you that don't know, she's Cheryl.
And he's Ken.
And we admit it. Maybe we shouldn't, but we do. Anyway, as always, let us know where you're watching from to start with. And if you have comments or questions, you can put them in the chat because we've been talking about the planning. We've gotten through the process of getting the trip pretty much lined out. But there's some things that we want to keep in mind that we haven't covered. So I wanted to make sure we went over them tonight. They're linked to, and I'm going to update the checklist a little bit. I've added a couple of things. So there'll be a new version available starting tomorrow. The link's there.
Good evening, Pam.
So we have Pam and we have Rhonda. Hi, guys.
Rhonda.
How are you guys tonight?
Oh, hi, Shelly.
And we have Shelly. Nice to have you. So to start with, let's talk about when you first book your reservation, when you get to the point that you're ready to pull the trigger and book, the first thing that you want to do is get your travel insurance. Now, if I work with clients here in the U.S., if they don't want to book travel insurance, they have to sign a waiver saying they accept all responsibility for their lack of good sense, and that they will, that they understand that I'm not liable for anything bad that happens. But I encourage everybody. Cheryl and I don't travel without travel insurance, and we're pretty good at what we do. And I'll take it back. We used it once to get reimbursed for some meals when we were stuck down in Miami. But it's just one of those things that I am really big on because, and there's a video in the channel about what happens, but there was a gentleman that didn't have travel insurance and died because of it. Another individual that had to get a celebrity to bail him out of the hospital in Mexico because they weren't going to let him go until he got his to paid his medical bill, and he didn't have any way to do it. So it's just one of those things. I can't stress that enough that to get insurance. And if you do it right when you book, usually you can get canceled for any reason. And so if something comes up and you can't go, it's really nice, somebody in your family gets sick and you can't travel, something happens, your car gets wrecked. A lot of different things could happen that could put you in a situation where you can't make the trip. And it would be really a shame to have invested a lot in a trip and not be able to recoup that money back. So that's where we start. Now, the next one is another big one, and especially if you're traveling in the U.S. Right now, the passport agency is running really slow. And some countries, and you'll have to check to see, but I just would make this a rule, is make sure your passport's good for 6 months after you come back from your trip. Now, if it's not going to be good for 6 months, this is like right when you book the trip, check your expiration date on your passport and start the process to get it upgraded. If you're not going to have that 6 months, it's a protection. If something happens and you're stuck in another country, your passport's not going to expire while you're somewhere else.
Or if you're like one of those travelers who just wants to travel last minute when things are inexpensive, just go ahead and get your passport to last a long time now, so you'll be ready.
Yeah, so they last 10 years, so it's pretty easy to it's not a big deal to get them renewed a little bit earlier. But right now, it's taking a lot longer than normal to get them done, so it becomes a little more challenging. Okay, so the next thing, and there two of them are kind of associated with each other, but the first piece of it is check with the State Department for advisories. If you live in another country, then you can go there as well to check with your version of the State Department so that you can understand exactly what might be going on where you're going to go. Right, a good example right now is in Mexico. There's several advisories up for the Cancun area because there have been a lot of shootings. There's some other states in Mexico that are considered high risk. So those are the kinds of things you want to know. I'm not saying it changes your plans, but you should at least make sure you're aware of what you're going to deal with. Associated with that, I would encourage you to enroll in this program, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, because what it is designed to do is to help you when you're traveling. So the first thing it does is the State Department knows where you're going to be and where where to look for you if something starts to happen, which is pretty helpful. They will also help you find the local embassy if something comes up and you need the embassy's help while you're still there. While you're still at home, you're going to get advisories so that what will happen is they'll put you on the email list. Anytime anything changes in a destination you're planning on visiting, you'll get an email letting you know. And sometimes it can be pretty quick that you get information that may not show up on mainstream media. So, for example, if there's an earthquake or a flood in an area that's not significant enough to make the national news, quite probably the State Department, if they see it as posing a risk for travelers, they'll go ahead and send you a notice and say, hey, you should know this. If they know there's demonstrations going on and you have your travel plans that are going to put you in that way, they'll let you know. So it's just a way for the State Department to kind of give you some insight onto things that might be happening in and around the the area that you're visiting. Now, another thing that I would encourage you to do, and this is valuable as well, and is to store copies of your passport, your tickets, your itinerary. Yep, Rhonda, mine's through 2027, so I'm good. But you can use like Google Docs as a place to store it, or Google Drive, or we use a program called Travify, and that lets you store documents online. So that, for example, if you wind up at the cruise port and you left your Okay, so my computer died on me, which just aggravates the way out of me. But we had a backup this time that was a little closer and we could be a little faster. Anyway, so I would encourage you to keep copies of everything online. If a good example is if in the event that you lost your passport, you would have a copy of it online, so that when you went to the State Department, you'd have the passport number and all that information readily available, and it would probably facilitate the process. The other thing, I would keep and take with me a copy of my passport. Because what can happen is sometimes if you go ashore, you're better off taking a copy of your passport rather than your passport, because the one thing that people like to steal is passports. Especially in places in Europe where pickpockets can be really common. You want to make sure that you don't have your passport where they can get to it. So I mean, there's some ways that things that you can do to hide it. But if you're carrying just a copy of it, that will, if they get the copy of your passport, it doesn't help them much.
At our Cruise 360 seminar, I met several women that say they have one of those things that you clip to your bra straps, and they put their documents and a credit card in there, and that seems to work okay. Nobody reaches down your blouse, I guess.
Well, let's just say you're more likely to notice it if they reach down your blouse. That would probably get your attention. Now, if somebody started reaching around in here, I probably wouldn't care. But you can put they have money belts and things you can wear under a shirt or something that you tuck in, so that makes it very difficult to get to stuff. In general, though, if you're just carrying a copy, it's a little better situation. And so Sorry about that. A little bit of technical.
Trying to look at the comments here.
Technical difficulty. Let's see, comments. Yeah, and Pam keeps all her valuables there. No, I like Rhonda's answer. She said it would depend on how cute he was. Okay, so anyway, so those are things that I would encourage you just to think about. Let's go here. Let's see what's next. All right, so we talked about, again, storing copies of your documents. So if you have all your documents that's stored online where you can access them. And the other thing, too, is if it's something you could share it with your family members back home. That way, if they needed something to know where you were or something, they'd know. Or at least you always want to make sure that somebody knows where you're going to be. And the State Department, if you sign up for the STEP program, they're going to want phone numbers and names of people they can release information to, so that if something does occur with you overseas, that they have a contact they can reach for you back inside the States. So 30 days out. So that was pretty much as soon as we book, we start those kinds of things. But there's some things that we're going to go over that starting about 30 days out, we want to get really serious about. And I'm going to go back to make sure you have copies of all your documents. Because what will happen is documents come in. So it might be that you get your cruise documents show up, different things. So again, I would put them somewhere I can get them online. This one's important too, is check your phone provider and make sure that you know what your plan covers. And I just moved to Google Fi because I have like 200 lands across the world that I can use the data and my phone with no roaming charge, which is very helpful. I still make sure I turn it off and put it in airplane mode when I'm on the ship, because it doesn't include. Yeah, that's pretty bright, isn't it? Okay, we'll change that. Now we'll be shadows in the dark. But my lighting in this room is not great. But what you want to do is make sure that you know what the coverage is, where you can use it and where you can't. Because it may be that in some companies, you can put a second SIM in, or some phones, so you can sometimes get a SIM for operating overseas if you need to. It's just pretty ugly when you get that roaming bill. My first one, when I didn't do it on the cruise ship like I should have, the first day I ran up like $60 worth of phone usage. And then I realized I needed to call the phone company and get it turned on for the ship, because they had a plan. I just didn't turn it on. Anyway, so it's just one of those things to think about. And all of these will not necessarily apply to everybody in every circumstance, but they're things just to kind of go through and make sure you know. I got a comment up here, so.
No bright lights.
No bright lights in the dark. Okay. So let's go back to here. So here's my next one down, is to make sure you have a week's worth of extra prescriptions when you travel. Because sometimes if something happens, and not wanting to go back and talk about this, but during COVID, there were a lot of people who were trapped on ships. And if you only had 1 week's medication, then you were in a little bit of a circumstance, because you couldn't get medications very easy. Can everybody hear me okay? We're kind of trying to shuffle stuff around. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. We're working on the light, trying to manage that as well. Okay. Maybe nobody can hear me.
Comments.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. They can hear me. All right. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So let me go back to banners then. So you want to make sure you take some extra prescriptions with you, so that you have what you need in case something happens. I mean, you could get sick in a foreign port and wind up somewhere you have to stay. You're not fit to travel back. You could break a leg, a lot of things. I'm not wishing bad on anybody. I'm just saying it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, this next one is really important, is you need to make sure you know what it is that you can take into a foreign country and what documentation you need to take it. And a good example is for people traveling to Japan is very fussy about some prescriptions. In fact, Asia in general can be very fussy. There can be things that you're prescribed legally here that if you get caught with it in Japan or somewhere in Asia could be a real problem for you. So if it's something that you have to have, then you want to make sure that you have the documentation, and you have to check with like the embassy for the countries you're visiting to find out.
This includes like pain medicine, sometimes
particularly pain medicine,
mental illness type medications. I mean, it's not just the things that have recently been legalized here, but even things that have been around in this country for a long time may not be approved, and it can end up in jail if you take them in other countries. So you need to find out way ahead of time and maybe change your prescription, talk to your doctor about that, and see what you can do.
Yeah, and again, sometimes if you know what you need to get from your doctor, you can have a letter or whatever it requires. And some stuff you may have to find, as Cheryl said, an alternate. So again, these are things just to think about. That we kind of sometimes get in the habit of taking things for granted, that what's good here is good everywhere. And that's not true. Here's one that, and I'm going to add a little bit to this. Make sure you have your good batteries and chargers for your cameras and phones. How about your cables? Make sure that they work well. We have gone and wound up without a cable we needed, and then you're having to hope you can find it. It was really sad. We were on one of the ships recently, and they didn't have the cable we needed, but a guy that worked in the camera store said he had one in his room. He loaned it to me till we got to port in Curacao, and so that would have been Holland America. And then I got off, went and found one, and gave him his back. But the point is it's very inconvenient if you don't have your cables and chargers and things. The other piece is make sure you have all the camera pieces to go with you. Our last trip, which one was it?
What's the last trip? It doesn't matter.
I guess it was Cruise 360. We did not have.
I forgot a piece of the camera.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't have a bracket. I needed to put the camera on my selfie stick so I could mount it to Cheryl's device and do the things we kind of needed to do with it. And yeah, again, both of those are fine, but make sure that meets the country's requirements, because sometimes, and the reason I know that is I
interview. Matter if you have a prescription from here and it's legal and the doctor gave it to you, you need to. I mean, you just can't take it into that country. I mean, it's just banned, and you take it and you're in real trouble.
Yeah, we had a conversation with a gentleman that lives in Japan. We were talking about that, and he said that's one of the challenges. And he mentioned that the interviews on the site. So if you wanted to find it, it was. I'll think of his name here in a minute. His name slipped away from me. But anyway, so you just make sure you have these kinds of things. It's again, if you find out ahead of time and it's a problem, you can fix it. If you find out when the police are hauling you to jail, it's a lot harder to fix at that point. I don't want anybody that listens to this channel to wind up in jail. It's just not a great plan. So we'll make sure that.
Yeah, their prisons aren't like ours.
Yeah, being in jail in some places is not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let me get the comment here. Yeah. Yeah, it does. And again, it's one of those things that sometimes your doctor may have something else. Sometimes it may take a letter. Sometimes it may take a form from the embassy notarized by the doctor. I don't know. Again, that's what I'm saying is just check. Please just check. I haven't issued a waiver for anything. No, I'll wave to you as you go to jail. No, I just, like I said, it's just one of those things. Again, the odds of it happening are pretty small, but if it does happen, the odds of it being a real problem are pretty good. Okay, for the U.S., if you haven't done this, I would really encourage you to check out getting cleared for pre-check, or use Clear, which is a private party identification method that kind of takes you to the front of the line. Cheryl and I have what's called global entry. And what that does is expedite your way through customs coming back in, but it also comes standard with pre-check. And you basically, you're considered a known traveler. You have a known traveler's number, and your hassle goes way down. The reason pre-check and all of these things are so helpful is when you go to go through security, if you have pre-check, which Global Entry gives you pre-check, what's going to happen is you don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to see water back in over there. I'd rather shift back to that one. Okay.
I don't know your password.
It's the standard one. Shift 1914. Anyway, everybody heard my password, I'm sure. That's okay. But the advantage is you don't have to unload your backpack. You don't have to take your computers out. You don't have to take your belt off. All of those things. And all of those come, Global Entry, I think, was $90 for 5 years. $20 a year, as many times as we go through security, it's money well spent. Associated with that, there's another service, and I didn't mention it here. Hold on, I'll find it. But you want to call, if you're, again, traveling in the U.S., you want to reach out to TSA Cares, because TSA Cares is a program operated by the TSA. ArriveCan for Pam, something like that. Yes, we had to do ArriveCan when we were during the pandemic, going into and out of Canada. You may still have to, I don't know. But there is a program that is called, sorry, I'm playing with these, called TSA Cares. And you go to the, I think it's, just Google TSA Cares. Sorry, I don't have it where I can bring it up. Hold on. You got to see the keyboard. I'm trying to go back to the other computer because I have the documents where I can find them.
I can't. You do it. Just type it in and I'll do it.
All right.
But it's much better on the other computer. No, it's not happy. I don't know what's wrong.
Sorry about this, folks. I'm a tech guy and my computer goes crazy. That's just annoying as all get out. But so if you check in with TSA Cares, what they'll do is they, in theory, because some airports it works much better than others. And when we lived in North Carolina, it worked really good at Raleigh. It didn't work at all at Charlotte. But in theory, the TSA Cares rep will come over from TSA. They'll meet you at the ticket counter, and they'll escort you through all the process to go through security. And in Raleigh, they pushed Cheryl all the way to the gate. So it was really a great process. Like I said, I have no idea. We haven't tried it here in Orlando yet. But again, it's trying to find these programs to make it as easy as possible. The other piece of it is if you're Pam's driving, and can you get that TSA pre-check? I don't know. Sometimes you'll get it if you're a frequent traveler. I don't think you can get it. Well, you might be able to. I do not know the answer to that, Pam. I don't want to guess. I prefer to give good information. I'll see if I can find an answer for you and post it. But anyway, so the TSA Cares program works well. The other thing, if you're traveling with a scooter, you need to make sure you contact the airline and let them know. American at least has a form, and then eventually they issued us a permanent ID for it, so we don't have to check in, provide the information over and over and over again. It's like a tag that they can look up easily in their system. But if you're gate checking a scooter in particular because of the battery and all of those things, you want to make sure that you let the airline know in advance about that. The last thing that I don't have any way to pull it up. Log into Chrome.
I cannot do your computer. I don't do your computer the way mine's totally different than yours. You have different passwords. Well, you said login.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll go to just type in up there. StreamYard, yeah. Anyway, we're trying to get back into the other computer stuff. But so you want to go through these things and try to make sure that you've got all of the stuff done that need to. Again, I'm hoping I can bring up. Oh, there you go. Yeah, just enter studio over to the right. So I should have it here in just a second. Sorry for the inconvenience. It hasn't been. Does it cost to do the money to do the pre-check with TSA? I think it's like $50. Okay, very good. And
Now we're showing that one. We want to show this one.
you're not sure. This is this camera right there. All right, you see it over there too, because we're still logged in. Okay, so now, no, don't add that. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. So give me 1 second. I want to bring up this checklist for you. It just took me a minute to get back. Sorry. Okay. All right, so I'm going to present. Share screen. Share. Okay, so you'll start to see this checklist. I wanted to go down here to the bottom of this one. The week before, again, these are things that I would encourage you to make sure you take care of. You want to check the week before. Yeah. Newspaper, your packing should be done. Make sure you weigh your bags so you're ready for that. The other thing is if you're traveling as a couple, you want to try to pack like half the stuff in one suitcase for each of you and half in the other. And the reason for that is if you lose one bag, one of you's not naked. It's just okay.
Okay, so does it cost money to do the pre-check with TSA?
Yeah.
Did you answer that already?
Yeah, and it does. There is a small fee for that. I think it's $50, Shelly. So you just need to go to just search it. If you're gonna,
per trip.
It's for I think 5 years. But what I would encourage is do the global entry, just because it gives you some other perks and it includes the pre-check, so it makes your clearing customs faster and easier. And then Pam said that she her last trip went to Vancouver, and when she got to the airport, they almost wouldn't let her on the plane because of the scooter. So again, it's one of those things you want to make sure that you take care of this stuff ahead of time. And I put it on the checklist about a week out. Make sure, most of the time, if you arrange for your parking in advance and reserve it in advance, or you make sure you have your somebody to take you, you want to get that all set up ahead of time. Okay, thanks, Rhonda. And then on the day of departure, this is critical. Now listen to me. Now I said listen to me. First thing is get up twice as early as you probably should have. So if you think it's going to take 2 hours, get up 4 hours early. Because that way, if you oversleep a little bit, you're still going to be okay. Next thing, you pack your last minute items. You don't want to leave that stuff. Yeah. And then go through and check your appliances are off and your computer's powered down. That way your computer doesn't die if you get struck by lightning somewhere nearby. You double check all your documents so you got them, because we have been guilty of leaving documents at home when we were sure we had them. So that's now on our list. You double check them. Now leave for the airport an hour earlier than you need to, so that if you have a flat tire, you run out of gas, the odds are still pretty good you're going to make your flight. Now, when you've done all of that and everything goes really smoothly, you're going to get to the airport really early, get through security, find a bar, have a drink, and relax, because you're on vacation. And those are things, like I said, the checklist is in the description. Plus, what I did is I created a playlist that has all three of these videos together. So anybody that's missed any of them, you can find the playlist link, and it'll have all three of them, so you can watch them in order and go through and accomplish this.
Oh, Here's a technique women can try when nothing else works. Pam says she'd already been on a plane from Halifax to Vancouver, and it was the same airline, but Vancouver didn't want the scooter. But in the end, she was able to get off after crying. So it's like,
yeah, and again, it's just these. We've learned most of the things on this list are things that have bit us in the rear end, and so we have gone. We keep making our pack list. Like I said, I double check my camera. We have packing lists for things to make sure that we have enough shoes, because we've gone away and not had all the shoes we expected. There you will always find that you may wind up one or two things. But with the checklist, if you go down through it, at least it serves to remind you that hopefully you'll get the major things, and you're not going to wind up somewhere without your meds, or without something that you really need. For me, one time we almost left my CPAP, and I did leave my CPAP power supply at home. I was fortunate that we got to Miami, and I was able to find a vendor that was open in the morning where I could go get my power supply for my a replacement power supply, or maybe it was just a cord. But anyway, I needed something so that I could have my CPAP and have it working. I'm hoping that I get a new CPAP fairly quickly, and then I'll have one that stays in the travel bag. But, the goal is to try to make things safe and easy and smooth. And hopefully, anybody have any questions? I always forget to ask. If you got any questions, you can stop the share. Oh, you did? Okay. If anybody's got any questions, put them in the comments. If not, we will let everybody go. By the way, there is a new video up for those of you that might not have seen it. We had the opportunity this last week to visit Brightline. Pam says she likes the checklist idea, and go tour the Brightline station in Orlando, and to get on and tour the train. It wasn't going anywhere, but we did a tour, and I was blown away by the accessibility. What do you think, Cheryl?
That's wonderful. I love the it's a great way to get from Miami to Orlando, or Orlando to Miami. It's not open yet though. So
yeah.
But hopefully it'll be open this summer. What's left to do? The buildings are ready to go. The trains are ready to go. They're still working on the track. Once the track is completed, they'll run test runs. Then the federal government steps in to approve the actual carrying of passengers, and who knows how long that takes. But they're hoping by sometime this summer to be get on the Brightline. It's a beautiful, beautiful station. It feels like an airport more than a train station. It's extremely clean, open, airy. They've thought of everything. They even have their own patented scent. It's kind of a grapefruit citrus scent in the air and on the train, in the buildings and on their trains. It's like their own touch of just to help you relax.
What did you like about the women's room? Or no, the family room?
Well, the family room is big enough. The family restroom is big enough that you can put your carry-on bags and your purse on a shelf separate, but close to the baby changing station, which is so nice. So many times, bathroom floors, you just don't want your stuff on the bathroom floor. And all the restrooms, although they do have a family room and separate accessible rooms in certain places, they still have accessible restrooms in the regular restroom area. So there's, multiple places to go easily. And techies will just love the fact that in the waiting area, whether you're in the first class or business class, that they have place under the seat where you can charge up your phone and get plugged in. They have free Wi-Fi in the trains and on the station. There's plenty of room. It was easy for me to get the wheel down between the rows of both the coach and the first class and business class. Both. They don't have coach.
They have both. Smart.
Yeah, smart and
premium.
Premium and smart. Yeah, which is premium is first class, smart is business class, and the seats are nice and roomy. If you want a seat, if you're in a wheelchair, you stay in your wheelchair for the ride. If you have a baby, then if the baby sits on your lap, you don't have to buy a seat. If you want to leave the baby in their carrier, then you have to buy a seat for them. There is a place in the back to put the baby carriers, right there in your same car. You
Okay,
do not
let
pay for it.
me answer this question for just a second, then we'll
Okay.
come back to it. And so to answer your question, Julie, we now have one we travel with, but it's really easy. I'm a real big fan of the screwed around Will C2. It is for us works so well. We have an arrangement with Scoot Around. We basically talk about it, and they let us use it. So it's the best of both worlds. But for those that know me, I don't talk about things I don't like. If you don't hear me say anything good about something, you can assume there was something that was wrong with it.
But of course, the Wheel C2 is not available at all ports. It
Yeah.
was fairly new in the rental
Yeah,
industry, so they'll get it there. Hopefully, they'll get it in Alaska before too long.
Yeah, I really would have loved to have had one in Alaska. If we go to Alaska again, we'll have one because we'll take ours with it. But if you have the choice, pick it up outside the terminal. And the reason I say that, Julie, is because then you have a chance in wide open spaces to get a little bit of practice driving it before you have to go up that gangplank to get on the ship. I also prefer to get it on shore rather than in my cabin, because then for in this case Cheryl, if she's got her wheelchair, then somebody's got to pull her wheelchair, and I got to schlep all the luggage. When she has the wheel, I put a backpack on the back of it, and sometimes I'll hook something, a bag behind it, and then I don't have as much luggage to carry, and I don't have to worry about her, and we don't have to wait on the ship to find somebody to push us up. So there's just a lot of advantages to picking it up on shore. That is always my preferred choice, but sometimes that's not an option. You get it in your cabin.
Thanks, Rhonda, for liking the video on Brightline. And like I said, that was just a tour of the train itself. We do hope to have a tour of actually being on the train a lot, in the next when it opens up later this summer. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, and actually, we're going to be on it coming up the end of June or middle of June. We're headed to Barbados. Oh, something really cool too. We're headed to Astoria, Oregon. We will be there tomorrow evening. We will be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We are going to be starring in a video that's not produced by us, but produced by Wheel the World for Astoria to showcase accessibility in Astoria, Oregon. So we're really looking forward to that. We will, of course, shoot some of our own video as well, because you know me, I'm not ever going to go somewhere and not take video.
Yep. It's good to thanks, Pam, for liking our refresher course here on packing.
Okay, so yeah, and anytime you guys have questions for us, comment in the Facebook, message me. You can do whatever you want to do to try to, yeah. Okay, yeah. So and go down to Julie's. Yeah, Julie, reach out to Scoot Around, and there's a coupon code Ken, Ken. You should be able to get a discount when you use it, all caps. But yeah, reach out to Scoot Around. They have the Will C2 in Miami, so you should be able to do it. We used it on the Virgin Voyages. It worked really well. You'll like Virgin Voyages. The accessibility is really good. You won't see a pull lift, but there is one. I've got some guys working on editing to help me catch up editing some video, and they're going to work on that one for me. But they dig it out of storage and they'll bring it out. So if you need a pull lift to get into the pool, they have one. I have a video of them putting Cheryl in the pool.
It's so good if you can give them a heads up like the day before if you want to get on, or at least a few hours so they have time to find someone to set it up.
Yeah, I understand that, Julie. You don't want to spend your energy. You want to have some, and it just makes so much sense, because in the ports it is just so much easier to be able to go where you want to go. And the C2 is great. I'm not sure which ports you have, but the Dominican Republic, we ran all over. Was it Punta Cana? I think it was Punta Cana or Puerto Plata. We went out, and in the port area, we took the scooter and we went all over, looked at the birds. They had a bunch of stuff there. There's video, I think, up on that, or at least there's some shorts up on that. And it works really well, Julie, for you on. They've got an accessible tram, so they'll pull out a ramp and you just pull the wheel right up on there, stay on it to go to the beach club. Yeah.
It's very nice. The beach club is very nice. There's two big pools there. I don't
Um,
remember how
pool
I
lift.
got into the pool. Like, because I could walk in. They did. I know they had railings, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure they have a lift there. It's very nice.
Yeah. And they also have mats so you can get out pretty close to, they have what they call Moby maps that you just take and go out and you can get pretty close to to your chairs where you wanted to sit. The one thing I will say is be careful with the wheel. It doesn't like sand. So, just try to park it on the Moby mat.
That's true. They do have wheelchairs to take you to your cabin, but if you're in a hurry and you want to get up to the buffet before there's a million people there, you don't want to have to wait in line for someone to push it with a wheelchair if you don't have to.
Yeah.
So if you can get it outside, then you can just zippy right on by all those people waiting to get pushed.
Yeah. Well, and Virgin Voyages doesn't have a buffet. They have like a food truck,
court.
like
Food court.
food court. Yeah.
Where they deliver the food to your table.
Yes.
So it's very nice. Nobody's messing with your food.
Yeah. In fact, we kind of liked Virgin Voyages. I would say maybe across the board, I liked Virgin Voyages food the best, maybe of all the cruise lines. There were individual restaurants on other ships that we've liked better, but I love not having the buffet. I loved,
The specialty restaurants are included. Be sure to book them. You do want to try them. They're very nice.
Yep. Though Cheryl wasn't a huge fan of the Korean restaurant.
Yeah, the Korean was not my type, but the Mexican was excellent if you love Mexican food. And then what was the one? I can't remember the one we ate breakfast at. They have one that was like excellent breakfast. And where you look out right there, there's windows.
The Wake.
You can see outside the Wake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great restaurant.
And that's also the steakhouse, and they do a good job. They have some great shrimp on the Barbie up on the fantail right above the Wake. Forget what the name of that is called. But yeah, Virgin Voyages has some amazing stuff.
Yeah, I'm ambulatory too a little bit. I can walk. I just don't want to walk long distances. It's really hard. So yeah, it is nice to get the scooter right away.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So San Juan. So San Juan, we need to. I will try to put together. I have a list. If you will message me your, or actually, let me do this. Julie, my email is ken@travelingwithachair.com. And for anybody, if you ever need to email me, ken@travelingwithachair.com. I don't mind sharing that. But email me because I want to give you some information about San Juan and St. Croix. If you get off in St. Croix, you're going to have to be able. The only thing they offer as an accessible excursion was you had to be able to fold your wheelchair and put it in the bus and climb up into the bus. And then it was like a walking tour of a rum distillery and stuff. They did not have any place to put a scooter. So
maybe they've changed that, but
that may have changed. I wouldn't. And finding information on San Juan is really tough. But we met a gentleman there that gave us a list of stuff. I just haven't had a time to get it where I can make it available. But I will send you a copy of that for you, Julie. And that goes for any of you. If anybody that's listening to this, even if you didn't book your travel with me, it doesn't matter because my goal is to help people that are, that need help. That's why we do this. We're definitely not getting rich at it. But if you need some help, reach out and I'll see if I can help you answer your questions for you. Like I said, that's why we got started and that's why we keep doing it. We don't mind the work though. It's not bad taking a trip every once in a while.
And you're going to love Virgin Voyages. We really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing is with the shows, just the only caution I have is if you're, depending on how conservative you are, you may want to find out about the shows before you go to the shows.
Yeah.
But most of them.
Some of the shows were a little more liberal than we are. But, and I have no objection to what somebody else watches, just not stuff that we wanted to. Okay. Well, and Julie, if you're not a member of my Facebook group, you should be. It's on Facebook, Traveling with a Chair or Other Disabilities. So feel free to join. It doesn't cost anything. And what will happen is then you'll get noticed. But I always try to share the latest special that anybody has. I have a link in there that if you book with it, you can book it yourself but you'll have my support and my help. Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, it's fine. Everybody to their own taste. I don't judge other people for what they do. I just, there are things I'm comfortable with. I'm, of course. Oh, you are okay, Julie. I'm 70 years old, so I come from a very different generation. You know, even though I look like I'm only 40, I am 70. Of course, this girl I stole out of the crib.
Yeah,
I married her. She was a baby when I married her.
yeah.
She's only 30 now, and we've been married 45 years. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We'll let you go. And we will see everybody next week. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but we will have something to talk about. Probably Astoria, Oregon.
They're going to have a Thursday show this week, right?
No, there won't be a Thursday show for those that were subscribed to that because it's going to be right in the middle of the day while we're out there. And I've got to get some things fixed. Ron just laughing at us.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Thanks everybody for the kind words. It's always fun being with my audience. We love you guys. You have a nice weekend. Enjoy your trip, Julie. And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.